The summer before my freshman year of high school, my parents took me on a trip to swim with the dolphins. To me, this wasn't just any ordinary trip. This was my lifelong dream. From the time I could talk, I wanted to be a trainer and work with the dolphins and Shamu. So when I found out I was going to do the Trainer for a Day program, I was ecstatic. This meant that in addition to 2 sessions of swimming with the dolphins, I was going to swim with the stingrays, feed the sharks, work in a dolphin training session, and tour the aviary. They even included 4 free tickets to SeaWorld. Right then I began counting down the days until I left on my adventure. When the day finally arrived, I was extremely anxious. My dad, Mom, and I drove to Orlando the night before so I would have plenty of sleep for the big day. The car ride seemed to take an eternity and my anticipation was building. The moment I arrived, someone greeted me and pointed me in the right direction. I met my escort for the day and we grouped with a few others who were doing the same program. We immediately went over the rules and headed straight for the Dolphin Cove. Our leader said the water was about 50 degrees Fahrenheit, but I barely noticed. I was too worried about getting my turn. Everyone in the group was able to ride the dolphins and interact with them for about half an hour. They even had one named Natalie. I told them that was an awesome choice. It was hard to believe that half an hour had gone by so quickly, but we had to move on to the next adventure. We walked to the other side of the resort to the shark exhibit. All the sharks in the tank were fairly docile, but we had to feed them with poles. Better safe than sorry. Feeding them was interesting, but I'd hoped for something a little more dangerous. Next, we were off to swim with the stingrays. The ones we encountered had no stingers, so we were allowed to feel all over them. We were given a bucket of fish that had been cut in half and specific instructions on how to feed the rays. The rays actually sucked them right out of your hand. It was overwhelming how many stingrays surrounded me after the feeding began. Then, excited from the food, they began sucking our skin. I had marks all over my legs from them. It wasn't painful, but it tickled a lot. So much excitement, and we still weren't done. Our next stop was the aviary, and it was much larger than I expected. They had a multitude of birds that were all shapes and sizes. They were very interesting and surprisingly friendly. After exploring all the different areas and learning about the many species, we were headed to our training session. Here we learned how the trainers taught the dolphins different behaviors and how they were rewarded. It was interesting to get a behind-the-scenes glance of how things were run. We watched the trainers interact with the dolphins, and they even let us give it a try. We said goodbye to the trainers and made our way once again to the Dolphin Cove. This encounter was more relaxed and not so structured. We just spent the time petting the dolphins and swimming around. It was a really nice way to end the day. After swimming, it was time to say goodbye. I was sad that the day had ended so soon, but I had to admit I was exhausted. This trip was by far one of the most exciting things I've done. I really enjoyed myself, and I would definitely do it again. It was so much fun, and I have memories that will be with me forever.